Hey friends, it's Rabbi Jenny Solomon in Raleigh, North Carolina, and I wanted to share this mincha moment, this moment of quiet and settling here on this Thursday afternoon, the last Thursday afternoon before Yom Kippur, and the first Thursday afternoon of the new year. So I'm thinking back on our Rosh Hashanah dinner, which took place this past Friday night. And no sooner did we sit down, but my mom's watch sent off a flag, a signal that Justice Ginsburg had passed away. As soon as Mayrav, our daughter, heard, she broke out into hysterical tears. I know she was not alone in her tears. And she spent the next several hours crying in her room. And the next day she came out and she decided that she was going to turn her sadness into hope. So I want to share a little bit about hope and see if we can practice that. So I want to suggest that hope actually grows up out of the soil of uncertainty, that they're not separate from one another, and that we can practice hope so that as we need to call upon it, and we all need to call upon it throughout our lives, especially when things feel hard, we have a deep reservoir from which to draw. So there's a beautiful teaching from the Maggid of Mezrich. It was shared with me a couple weeks ago by my teacher and chaver, Rabbi Sam Feinsmith. And he taught this beautiful piece of Torah from the Maggid. And the Maggid suggests that teshuvah, repentance, atonement, that process of healing and repair and coming home, so to speak, coming home spiritually to one's best self, to God, to sort of reworking, reorienting back to the whole from a broken place. That work of teshuvah is likened to an olive that grows on an olive tree. And so for those of you who have seen olive groves in the land of Israel or in other places of the world, you know that the olive fruit itself looks very different than the olive oil that shows up in the jar in the grocery store. And of course, it's very precious, not only to our world, but to how we cook and eat and nourish ourselves. So he suggests that it's like the olive because the oil is concealed within the fruit, even when we cannot see it. So we see this olive hanging off the tree, but embedded within this olive is already the oil. And so he says that this is like teshuvah, that when we commit a transgression, when we make a mistake, when we find ourselves misaligned, the remedy, the healing, the fix, the tikkun, the repair is already there. And it reminded me so much, I'm sure others have also heard Representative John Lewis, may he rest in peace, spoke often about this being the spirit behind so many of the demonstrations and actions that he participated in. And he talks about it as we went into a situation already believing that the goal was achieved, that the purpose was fulfilled. You go into it like it's already there. To me, this is such a definition of faithfulness and hopefulness, that we go in understanding that the healing or the manifestation of some sort of higher purpose is already there, even when we cannot see it. And I offer this today because I see so many people on social media, people who I run into in the parking lot in a distant way, people who I'm talking to. There's just a tremendous sense of outrage, fear, sadness, despair, sorrow about the state of the world. And I think that all those feelings are more than justified, and we have to honor them. And at the same time, I think we can also really nurture our hope, really plant seeds of hope, so that we remember that the answers are already here. The path to fixing is here. It's our job ultimately to access that and to bring it to fruition, to grow those seeds and nurture those seeds so that we can reap that harvest. But to know that it's not some elusive thing that is hidden from our knowledge, that is hidden from the possibility of its manifestation. It's already here. Just like the olive oil that is embedded already within that olive. So I want to invite you to take a good seat, or maybe this afternoon to lie on the ground where you can feel really connected to the earth. And I invite you to settle by closing your eyes if you feel comfortable, or softening your gaze. Taking a couple of deep, deep breaths. And you may allow your neck to just rotate, roll, for your shoulders to soften, to feel your feet or your back body connected to something sturdy and steady. And as you begin to soften, holding a posture of a strong back and a soft front, you may consider your own olive. Perhaps one particular way in which you're noticing or you've taken account, especially as we walk these last couple of days to Yom Kippur. One way in which you have transgressed, missed the mark, become misaligned, or simply made a mistake. Notice if any resistance arises. Sometimes it's hard to look at that thing. We might immediately notice ourselves justifying or rationalizing what we have done wrong. Maybe it's hard to think of anything at all. That's all just natural, normal resistance. But see if you can soften the resistance enough that you can identify one thing, one way in which you've missed the mark in this past year. Now take a moment to imagine that the remedy, the repair, the teshuvah, the coming home, the path to coming home, is embedded within that transgression. It's already there. You don't have to go looking far. This is the work of tilling the soil so that on Yom Kippur we can plant the seeds of hope and nurture them through the year ahead. Our ability to come back into alignment, to come back home, those pathways, those neural pathways, those physical pathways, they're already here. I bless us all with the courage to hope in the midst of difficult times, to trust that we will find our way back, because the way back is already here.